Robert, thank you so much for joining us here at FF News' coverage of Sibos 2022. How are you doing?
I'm good. Good to be here.
Yeah, great to see you. Now, could you tell our viewers a bit more about yourself, your role at SEB too?
Yes, I'm heading product management in what we call sort of transaction services. So that's covering sort of the payment products, cash management in general, trade finance and receivable finance. A lot of focus on product development, sort of on the basic offering, but also sort of looking into innovation and new offerings to our customers.
Absolutely amazing. Now, one new innovation that seems to really have caught my eye is the ownership of digital assets and where that originates and where that ends. Could you tell us a bit more about your work on that, please?
Yeah, I mean, what we think about is very much supporting our customers in the transformation from sort of the focus on ownership over to sort of usership. A lot of our customers are traditional manufacturing companies that used to be selling, let's say, ventilation systems or filters for dirty industrial environments, and they want to move into selling clean air instead as an offering that their customers can pay for per month or per cubic meter or whatever. Yeah. So what we actually did is that we just recently took on a stake in Lineo. That's a Fintech company from Denmark that is supporting companies with sort of some of the administrative tasks to make sure that you have an offering that will work, where you don't charge for the products but actually for the usership of the product. So that's an area we feel really excited about.
It sounds absolutely brilliant, and I know for a lot of medium to large scale enterprises that must be amazing, knowing that they can scale and use their bank to do it.
Yeah.
So with that in mind, we've looked at the high-end customer, business customer. Let's look at retail payments. They seem to be going through a volume of changes, whether it's the increase in value, the decrease in value but the increase in volume of the payment, or just new payment products like buy now, pay later. Can I get your insights into how retail payments are changing for SEB's customers?
Retail payments, I come from Sweden, and in Sweden we've seen a huge transformation over to mobile payments with the Swish instant service. We have less than 1% of cash measuring towards GDP in the Swedish society. So obviously mobile payments, that's really key, and I think the next step in that area is to make sure that you can also cover your needs when you travel abroad using mobile payments. With regards to retail payments, it's also, you talked about value. Can you just maybe comment a bit on what you mean by that and the scale?
Yeah, exactly. So now we're seeing microtransactions, people just paying all the time using mobile technology, rather than going to, for instance, an ATM, taking out 1,000 krona and then that being one transaction. We're now seeing people spending maybe 200 krona in a go every second.
Right.
What does that mean on the back end for an organization?
Yeah, obviously it's really key for us being part of the payment industry to build a really trustworthy and solid basic platform to support this. Many people have talked about is it blockchain to make sure that it's secure, can handle large volumes, small amounts and so on. I think the blockchain technology in itself is really promising, but I think it all starts about collaboration. And in the Nordic space, we have something what we call P27, an initiative in our company that is supposed to support the innovation of payments, not only retail payments, but across the Nordics. So I think it's about building a solid base to support these type of transactions. And then first thing is about paying the small amounts, but in the future it's going to be also about embedded finance, where you don't really think about paying, it just happens automatically. So I guess now you tap your card when you're entering the underground, and in the future you just enter and it will be paid automatically. So I think, but it is about creating this solid base and agreeing on the common standards on messaging and all these things that might seem a bit boring, but it's needed to build the future.
Oh, definitely. And I do not think ISO 20022 is boring. What do you think those high-end, that high-yield data set that's going to be accompanying each financial message, each payment now, what's it going to mean in a P27 ecosystem?
I guess the whole purpose of ISO 20022 standardization. It's about sort of using the data in a better way. You have the structure, you can have more data, but then the industry first need to agree on sort of data and how it should be structured and how the messaging should look in more detail and so on. First thing is to sort of secure AML processes, is to work on financial crime prevention and so on. But then it's obviously also about sort of understanding the end-to-end flow, so you will instantly know when you purchase, or if you purchase something, you will have the data around the purchase in the payments. You can use that to secure additional supply of that type of product in your store or whatever, to build a more automated end-to-end flow. So, I mean, I think around data, the opportunities are endless, but it's also about sort of safeguarding data, that all the participants in the ecosystem can be sure that they have control of their data. I mean, all our private individuals or the companies can safeguard that. And there we have a bit of an issue. We have the large platforms with Google and Apple and Amazon. They want to try to, in a way, control the data flow. I think that's a bit of a problem. I believe in more sort of democratic and more fair practices around sort of how to share data, and that's also going to be super important in the future. And really, one more comment on that. I mean, the data around the payments, that's sort of such a critical set of data, since it's actually show that the ownership of something is changing. Yeah. So there we really need to make sure that it's fair and democratic.
I completely agree. I'm seeing case studies like in the Australian payments system, you can attach invoices to a payment now, really solidifying that transfer of asset.
Yeah.
Now, one new asset class that we might be seeing is central bank digital currencies.
Right.
Now, obviously, in a P27 environment, that cross collaboration across countries and currencies, I already love. But then, if you're going to have central banks issuing their own currencies, that transfer of assets, what's your insights that you can give us from that? I mean, SEB looking to work with the Swedish central bank on that?
Yeah, we have a close collaboration with the central banks and other participants in the industry around that. There's work ongoing that was initiated by the government around sort of the role of commercial banks versus central banks, the government institutions and so on. And they're very much focusing on CBDCs and so on. And I believe one challenge is that the three pillars of banking, to me, that's about financing, it's about deposits, and it's about sort of transfer of funds from A to B. And if you take out the deposit pillar, because that potentially happen if you build a CBDC type of solution where you have an accounts in the central banks instead, so you lose the deposit base that you need for financing. So if you sort of create that instability, that's going to be dangerous for the whole financial system. So I think close collaboration between the different industry players will be key to solve this, because we need to solve these type of problems.
Absolutely fascinating. That is a take I haven't heard, and I love it because it really does highlight, we can talk about innovation, but you're never going to get innovation in finance unless the risk is managed.
No, that's right.
And hearing that balance is so key. So, Robert, we've come to time, but thank you so much. It's been absolutely brilliant.
Good to be here.
You're fascinating.
Super.
Cheers.
Thank you.